questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Attorney General, thank you. I wanted to follow up on your notation that your budget includes reinvigorating antitrust enforcement. As you know, this issue is top of mind to many in Congress. My observation is there's a heck of a lot of different perspectives on it, ranging from we don't have a problem to we have a severe problem with both our laws and with enforcement. And I guess I wanted to explore your views on that because, frankly, I'm trying to sort it through myself. But you have asked in your budget for a huge increase in antitrust enforcement of 41.6%. I mean, I guess, first of all, I don't see any other part of your budget which asks for an increase of that scope. I mean, is that generally correct? Is this one of the largest percentage increases anywhere in your budget?
I'd have to look over the whole budget to tell you that, but this clearly is a large increase, and I'll be happy to explain why. Over the last 4 or even more years, the Antitrust Division has been depleted. We actually, I think, have fewer lawyers in the Antitrust Division than we had in the 1970s. On the other hand, we're facing an enormously increased number of mega mergers, each one of which takes enormously sophisticated and complicated analysis, requires skilled lawyers, but also requires IT at a level that we've never had before. So $38.5 million of the request is for IT so that we can come into the 21st century in our ability to analyze these mergers. And $27.4 million, which is an increase of 112 attorneys for antitrust enforcement. I'll tell you, when I came in, I was shocked to learn that the only way we were able to cover the investigations that we were doing was by hiring two-year lawyers, 2 years at a time. I can tell you that the companies we are investigating and going to trial against are not hiring two-year lawyers. They are hiring the best of the best from Wall Street, and we need to have lawyers who can match that. And we need to have as many lawyers as we can. So it looks like a large increase, but it's from a very small base.
I'm just reading your testimony here. Not only are you down lawyers, but it says here in your testimony that you have nearly 400 fewer staff today than 1979. I mean, that's kind of shocking to me. And frankly, I don't think you can, if it's a time span of 1979 to present, I don't think you can get into what administration did what. It seems to have been a systematic depletion of antitrust. And I guess my obvious question there is, well, why was that? I mean, presumably companies were getting larger. I think it's fair to say that we have seen more mergers and an accelerating rate. We've seen much more complicated companies. We've seen much more complicated mergers. And it would seem to me that if we were realistic about our antitrust law enforcement, we would have kept up with that. And yet we seem to have gone in exactly the wrong direction on it. I mean, why is that? And I guess a corollary to that is it would seem to me that companies are pretty actively taking advantage of the fact that justice is forced to be highly selective in terms of the antitrust enforcement that it chooses just because of the lack of resources.
So I think you make a very fair point, which is this really is not one administration versus another. This is a number of reduction in staff going all the way back to the 70s. I think it reflected a lack of priority of antitrust, a lack of understanding of the way in which antitrust helps our economy, the way in which it helps businesses to compete, not get foreclosed by their enormously large competitors, the way in which it helps labor achieve wage increases without them being agreements against those, the way in which it helps consumers accomplish going about ordinary life at reasonable competitive prices. I think what we've seen now recently, of course, is with the big tech companies and with the way in which the technology companies in many ways change what we see about antitrust, with network effects, with the two-sided platforms. These are all issues which were only recently coming into focus, and I think bipartisan focus. And
can I just ask you a quick, sorry, just on that subject, since my time is running out, to make the point, I mean, you're not just talking about the addition of lawyers, you're also talking about the addition of highly sophisticated forensic accounting systems that can actually get inside of companies and frankly, also, match the company's resources in court, correct? So this is not just about more lawyers.
Oh, no, you're exactly right, and particularly economists. So you're exactly right in all on that respect.
Okay, thank you very much. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Case. At this time, the chair recognizes Mr. Christ of Florida for 5 minutes to question. And you are muted, Mr. Christ.